enthusiasts and our distinguished guests. Welcome once again to a thought-provoking journey at the DevOps India Summit, which is on the intersection of sustainability, resilience, and intelligence in IT systems. So in a few minutes from now, we shall be embarking on a quest to explore the dynamic landscape where cutting-edge technology meets environmental consciousness and robust adaptability. So in our upcoming panel session, as you can see, the chairs are all set. Our speakers will navigate us onto the fascinating world of eco-friendly innovations, resilience planning, and the infusion of artificial intelligence into our IT ecosystems. Together, we shall all unravel how these three pillars converge together to form a more adaptable, sustainable, and intelligent future. So on that thoughtful note, brace yourself for a very power-packed session as we delve into the insights of our esteemed panelists and the able moderation of an industry visionary. So without much further ado, let's start the session. Let's welcome our distinguished panelists. With a big round of applause, may I please invite Ms. Lakshmi Nair, Managing Principal APAC at Synopsys Inc. to please join us on stage. Can we have a big round of applause once again, guys? Can I also have on stage Mr. H. Rajendra Kamath, Director, Global Technology and Cloud Platform Engineering at Amadeus Labs. With him, can I please invite Mr. Adarsh Devendra Swamy, General Manager AI Ops and Wipro Homes at Wipro. And after Adarsh, may I please request Mr. Avinash Rao, Head of India Operations, LiveSwitch India, to please join us on stage as well. And last but not the least, may I please have on stage Mr. Hemachand Munagapati, Engineering Head at Site 24/7. Can we please have a big round of applause, everyone, for Mr. Hemachand as well? Okay, can I please have Mr. Munish Prakash Visham from Wipro to please join us on stage? Thank you, sir, for joining us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and guiding us through this insightful discussion, please join me in extending a warm welcome to our esteemed moderator, Dr. Niladri Chaudhary. Can you please have a big round of applause for all our panelists and our moderator? So, ladies and gentlemen, the stage is all set. The dialogue is about to begin. So let's embark on this very exciting journey where we explore the ever-evolving landscape of IT systems. So ladies and gentlemen, let the enriching conversations begin. Over to you, Niladri, sir. Please take it ahead from here. Thank you.
So this is the only panel discussion that we have here. And we have quite a few people who are quite experienced. So as you know, the topic is navigating the future, resilience and sustenance, right? And we have people with backgrounds on practicing sustainable IT, and we have people practicing resilience through SRE, through cybersecurity. So to start with, I will go with resilience first. And I would like to ask Lakshmi first, as to, we talk about security. We are seeing that there's a lot of generative AI and AI being used, and everybody have found a new toy around it. So what is your views on the data security, on the data privacy related to this area, as more and more people are jumping into using, and it's not only using data within their organization, but outside the organization?
Thank you, Niladri, for the question. Yeah, I hope I'm audible. Hello, everyone, and I'm very glad to be here speaking to all of you and part of the summit as well. And you know, every conference that I've attended and spoken in the last few months, this topic was definitely one of those topics that we have been discussing, and I think there is not enough still being discussed about it, and there is something new which every time that we discuss coming in, just like that the executive order, I'm sure some of you have noticed that the US federal has released an executive order, especially on artificial intelligence and data security related to the AI security and privacy of the AI systems very recently, I think 2 weeks back. So the focus is still on, and I think I would like to start right from the data, the base on which we are building this AI models. I think everyone is very, very concerned about that. Exactly the order also talks about. I'm sure there are other standards. For example, OASP has a standard they have released a few months back on LLMs, large language models that they released. So there are a lot of focus on how we should protect the data, how we should also protect the privacy of the data that has been collected, and having the right controls around before even those are being used in the AI models that is built today. And the regulations and controls, even the AI model generators have been asked to put together the right controls and the threat assessment and threat analysis related to their AI models. The data security of the AI models, even before they make them available for the larger audience to consume it, to prevent the data poisoning and preventing the data being misused, creating these models in place. So I think there is a lot more that we can talk about, but I think what is encouraging this is, it is not just about we security people talking about the issue. So I know, being a security person, we come at the stage that, wait, we need to look at a lot of aspects before we start jumping into this, right? So it is not just us. I'm glad that there are organizations, there are governments talking about that and putting the right controls around it for these kind of controls at this point in time.
Thank you. So extending this to Rajendra, I'll take the same situation, which is generative AI and AI and all. And we hear a lot of news about the amount of water being used, consumed because of cooling the data centers, the amount of pressure it is putting on the power grid, and so on. What is your view in terms of how we can sustainably practice such new technologies?
Yeah. So maybe before I start, it's a pleasure to be here. I do want to introduce a bit about the organization I come from. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Amadeus. So Amadeus is a software and IT solutions company where we offer solutions to the airline, airport, and the tourism ticketing industry. So in short, the next time you're making an airline reservation, you are very likely touching one of our Amadeus backend systems. So
see if you can get some discount codes.
So we are really big in terms of the kind of transactions we handle. We do something like 4 million transactions a day, which comes to about 50 to 60,000 transactions a second. To your question around sustainability, the reason why I gave that context is Amadeus has always had its own data center for many decades. And Amadeus is on a transformation journey of moving to cloud, which is a very significant move. And why it is important from a sustainability standpoint, something which Yash as well touched upon when he was speaking, is moving to public cloud gives you the advantage of economics of scale. You are able to do a lot of the consolidation, a lot of the CPU and storage, the compute and storage optimizations at scale when you move to cloud than compared to, let's say, your own private infrastructure. So in that sense, while it's a great sustainability move, it also begs the question, what value does it bring to our customers? So when you, when you move to cloud, there are a number of things that you do, get as an additional advantage from a customer perspective. So when you move to cloud, you definitely have more integration opportunities, which basically means you are able to offer a much better personalized experience to your customers with integration with a lot of third-party systems, third-party applications. You also have the advantage when you move to public cloud that you are able to manage your services to be at a much closer network proximity to your customers. So almost all of the public cloud providers offer you the ability to run your services at different regions globally, so which basically means you can run your services closer to where your customer needs it. So that's another big advantage where customers would essentially see lower latencies or better performance to their applications. The third is, of course, from a compliance standpoint. So you think of it with GDPR and many others prevalent. Cloud also allows you to ensure that a lot of the data you are able to have it confined to specific regions, right? Which is again another big advantage that you get with the movement to cloud. So yeah, I think that would be my answer from a sustainability standpoint. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So we are looking at not only just Gen AI, we are looking at even a lot more of digital transformations. And from that point of view, I would ask Avinash, and what do you think are the key challenges and opportunities when we are using the latest technologies, we are using fast-changing technology landscape, and we are trying to add value or create value for our ecosystem, where the ecosystem itself is changing.
Absolutely.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Hey, I'm Avinash. Lovely to be here. There's this one word that I think is really being misused right now, and it's called guardrails. Okay? Because whenever we're talking about generative AI, we're talking about a lot of the new things that we are doing. People come out and they say, "Hey, don't worry, we've got guardrails." You're walking up a mountain and you might fall off the edge, so we've put guardrails, right? You can hold the guardrails and you won't fall off. Unfortunately, I don't think we know at the moment what guardrails really mean for some of the technologies that we are currently working with. When you're talking about generative AI, for example. A part of it is a lot of the security and the controls thinking that we bring in comes from an age which was fairly well defined, right? But now we're in the age of our systems which are hallucinating and producing different data. You spoke about the data that it's being trained on. So I may be an author, and you're definitely not plagiarizing my book, but you've trained your model with my book, right? So what does that really mean? And that's a question that I don't think people have fully understood, because we, at least I, don't know how the LLM is really using that as part of its training to create its outputs. A second thing is then how do you put restrictions and controls on how that data is being used to produce what is being done. At the same time, when internal combustion engines came, there were a lot of protests that the horses are going out of business, that it's going to so every generation there is always a protest, there is a fear that these new things that are coming in are going to make the world worse. I tend to be a sunny optimist. I think in time we will figure it out. The need for those guardrails in this particular context is very important. I only want to stress that I don't think today we've figured out what that really means, but that is something that I'm very confident that we together will figure out in the years to come. I think this is something that is a positive development for technology, for the industry. It's letting us create many new things which didn't exist before. Now, Niladri knows that I'm an ex-consultant. I love the sound of my own voice. He warned me before coming in to keep my answers short. So I'm going to leave it at that, but I'm sure that there'll be many other.
I want to add one quick point on this. So the Gen AI, all of this LLM models are giving us the flexibility. I'm sure I learned that quite a few of you are in the DevOps space, and you learn the flexibility that gives people to develop things much, much faster than it used to be. The codes are readily available. You can pick them up and create things. And at many times, what we don't think, what is inside the box? It's still a black box. What if it breaks? And then the moment that it breaks, the citizen developers who have used them to develop the code, they don't know how to fix it. The whole objective of how fast you develop, it's just going to collapse because the time to restore it back to the original state is we don't know. What is the RTO? For that, we don't know because we don't know what is inside. I think that's something that we often forget because we are really going with the speed at which the development is going today.
Thank you. So now I'll be going into the production environment. Okay, the two gentlemen here, Hemchand is from Site 24/7, and Munish is from Wipro heading the SRE. So I will now take onto the production side of things. So I would ask Hemchand to give your thoughts in terms of how do you think from the observability point of view, from the managing a live system, how can we make it more resilient? And how is technology helping in achieving that?
Thanks, Niradi, for a question, which is absolutely syncing with my domain experience. So coming to this production environment, how observability helps. See, basically, any system which is in production, we should be tracking about all the pillars or covering all the pillars of the observability, starting from metrics, logs, as well as traces, distributed traces. When covering all the bases of the observability, now there is a situation where another fourth pillar is coming into the surface of observability, which is nothing but security, data security, which is absolutely necessity in the right time of current microservice architectures as well as multiple Gen AI solutions coming into the surface. So not just the world three pillars of the observability, now the need for the fourth pillar, which is nothing but security of the data, is much, much critical. Apart from that, because of the latest technologies being adopted so fast in the current scenarios, all the legacy applications are being slowly converted into microservices. Again, when we convert our monolithic applications to microservices, that identifying the problem whenever there is a production issue, the mean time to repair the issue is very much important. For these reasons only, this distributed tracing has come into a very big picture in today's world. So consolidating, so observability is not just tracking or just repairing. There also should be situations like where our redundant systems are tested well and keeping it ready for whenever need for switching. That is also one of the important to make ourselves production environments to be ready for any switching between main write mode to redundancy mode as well. This is my answer from.
Thank you.
So I'm from AIOps practice of Wipro, and I head the site reliability engineering. And yeah, before going to that, first of all, my sincere, my best wishes and sincere prayers for your green computing initiative. In fact, how often do you see a technology conference starts with such a dharmic vibration, right? So really great. And so coming back to this question, right? So a lot of our customers start with lot of our customer conversations start with some sort of SRE requirements, like they would like to implement SRE, and some of them may have not any idea, like they want to implement SRE, adopt SRE, but couldn't quite figure out like what is it, right? For some people it is automation, for some people it is just CI/CD, some people it is observability, like setting up some monitoring, right? And you wouldn't believe the number of conversation that starts with SRE's primary focus, ends with the observability is phenomenally high. So they will talk about all the reliability engineering and reliable system, resiliency and everything, and finally it ends up in setting up the right observability. So they would have got the tools, they would have implemented, they would have invested a lot of APM tools and stuff, but the right insights from the system is not actually there. I mean, like, they capture metrics, they don't know how to interpret the data and understand the system, both from the business as well as infra and application perspective. There is nothing unifying. So that one thing that I would definitely say is, like, if resiliency or like reliability engineering to be done properly, then it should start with the right observability. In fact, the reliability pyramid that you could have seen in the Google SRE book, the foundation is observability. And the challenge is, just for the sake of procuring tools, much of our customer doesn't know how to leverage. So, from our practice, like from AOps practice, what we do is, like, we don't suggest right away the tools, rather we do analysis, like what exactly they already have got and what exactly are the metrics they are rightly interpreting. Then we help them interpreting. If that is not adequate, then we leverage newer tools. We suggest new tools.
Great, thanks. And he anyway answered whatever I would have asked. So by show of hands, how many have worked or is working on legacy systems, mainframes? Okay. Good, because my next question will be towards that. We talk about all this in the latest technology kind of scenarios, but if you're working in a bank, if you're working in some of the older organizations, bigger organizations, you will also have your legacy systems. And that's where I will come to, again, Lakshmi, to say that when you have a mix of newer technology and legacy systems, how do you bring resilience from the vulnerability point of view, not only in the new technology, but also on the legacy?
It's a question that, it's a very interesting question, and this is something that we try to answer to our customers, and especially in the banking sector these days. So we work, in my current role, we work with one of the largest insurance provider in the region, APAC. And one of the things that we see with them, so they have several mainframe and thick line systems that they still use. They just can't go away with that. And then the expertise, the vulnerability landscape of those systems are much wider, still outdated, because we don't have much work that has been gone into that anymore, with all the focus on the cloud migration and newer technologies being in the space. So we still see a lot of systems being vulnerable, and yet we don't have the right expertise. And when I say we, not just us as an organization, but in general in the industry, we don't have enough experts who can really look at that from a legacy perspective and find the vulnerabilities and issues around that. And then that is also, if I look at, that is a very recent security incident that came up, wherein the result was that the focus of threat actors, because there's a lot much being attacked on the finance, retail, healthcare, all of this has been attacked very frequently. The focus is now shifting eventually to the operational technologies, the legacy systems, wherein the focus is not that much, and the ability to bring security is not that great into that, right? So if I go back to how do we bring both a balance between the newer systems and resiliency especially, I think it's important for us to go back to basics. I would really want all the owners to think what is being collected, what data is being collected, what data is being stored, what data is being processed. Because today, the amount of data handled by any of these systems, that's huge. Are we really required to handle that level of data? And then comes the ability to protect or the need to protect. Are we protecting enough the crown jewels? Are we protecting the data which is really, really required to be protected in both sides, not just the newest technology, because data is in abundance today. So there is nothing, there is no extra cost for us to collect a little bit of extra data. Okay, there are privacy laws that are preventing us from doing that, but how much of that is being in implementation? We still have questions around it, right? So I think that's the point that I wanted to bring as a discussion on this table. Are we really looking at the data in both the sides, not just the newest system and the oldest system, and in collecting, processing, and transferring? Then let's talk about resilience and reliability of that. We don't know that yet.
Absolutely.
I want to bring in a slightly different dimension. When we think about resilience, some of these systems that we're talking about, these legacy systems, these mainframes, by the way, I spent 2 years with one of Raj's competitor building out a departure control system. So I know that that space and some of the things that you're talking about. Let's be honest, mainframes and some of these legacy systems do transaction processing beyond compare. They are brilliant at it. I mean, beyond brilliant, right? I would actually say that it would be hard pressed for some of these public clouds to even get anywhere near the kind of performance that those systems have, which is why we still continue to use it, okay? Travel, banking. Some of these systems are 30, 40 years ago. And I know there was one server that hadn't been restarted in 30 years. Okay, so that's the kind of performance we're talking about. However, when we're talking about business resilience, the things we have to think about are, do you have the skills in order to continue to maintain, to upgrade those things? That becomes a business risk. A bigger business risk is also, some of these systems are optimized for transaction performance. They're not necessarily able or designed to be able to do some of the things that we demand that our businesses do now. You can do a reservation, you can do it really well. But I'm a traveler. I go to a desk where an airline check-in agent is there, and that person looks at me and say, hey, Mr. Rao, would you like me to offer an upgrade for you from Bangalore to Dubai for X rupees? Now that X is no longer a transaction processing problem. It is understanding who I am as a customer, knowing my social profile, and to be able to bring that in, look at my past booking data, and then within seconds to pop up a message on that check-in agent's screen saying, hey, Mr. Rao's propensity to pay, he's a cheapskate, so he might go for an upgrade for, let's say, 7,000 or 10,000. Right? So that ability, if your systems, even though they're very performant, if they don't have that ability, I would actually see that as a problem with your organization. That's a business risk.
Thanks.
So since we discussed about legacy systems, and I do want to make a point that as far as MADs is concerned, we certainly made a switch from mainframes to open systems in 2018, and we have never looked back since then. But I do agree that there always has to be a balance between legacy and new. When we made that transition, one of the key things we all have to bear in mind is whether it is mainframe or some other legacy, there is decades of learning that are there in these systems. Decades of learning of building systems in a very resilient manner, decades of learning of how to handle failures, and these are some things that we had to carry forward when we moved out of mainframes to open systems. MADS is on the second leg of transformation where we are trying to move to cloud, and we believe that as much as we want to move to cloud, we are extremely conscious of the fact that the existing systems, we need to retain a lot of the processes, the learnings that we have had in these when we move to cloud. Yeah.
Thank you. So, yeah.
Coming back to this question, like when to move, whether should legacy systems to be moved to the latest technologies, it all drills down to main factors like two. One is whether the legacy systems are a burden to maintain going forward is a main point to be considered. Like, well, maintaining my legacy systems, whether my business is impacting or any operations, I don't have a resource who can actually contribute and resolve it in much faster times. Whether the data is being secured, and if any vulnerabilities comes up, who is going to resolve them? These are the main things which has to be considered when a legacy system is still continued. So when at certain point of time, the legacy systems maintaining itself will become a burden. So because of that reasons, we may need to push towards the latest technologies, but not every time, The call has to be taken effectively by weighing up what is effectively needed for the need of the hour, based on need of the hour. And the second point which everyone has to consider and everyone will be willing to consider is how cost effective the latest technologies could be when compared to legacy technologies. Whichever is cost effective, definitely they will be choosing the one.
Thank you. So let me ask a question to Munish. And we were talking about observability, we were talking about data, and then we heard about the concept in terms of that we have to understand the overall scenario in creating the value for the customers, which basically means that we have to understand the customer persona's journey. We need to understand what is the customer doing and what they want to achieve. And I think that is something which predominantly we talk about in SRE, right, in the SLO front. And I would like, being the SRE head, Munish, to talk about what is that you see in managing the current set of implementations, the systems that are running, both the newer technology and the older technology, and how can you tie in the SLO and error budgets into it to make it more resilient?
Yeah. So when we use the term legacy, and of course this industry itself is not even crossed like 50 or 60 years. So the problem is they were talking about mainframe, right? So 3 years back there was an UK customer. It's a wealth management customer. They have bunch of Excel sheet running, with macros. They are maintaining like 2,000 portfolios. It's all rich portfolios. And nobody in that environment, in the wealth management, that analyst, nobody wants to touch a single sheet of it. When we try to propose for a .NET conversion of it, not even. So when the system is robust, like Hemchand said, right, when the system is robust and it's maintainable, and of course the support is there, Excel macros, it's still there, right? So just for the sake of embracing to newer technology, right? And of course there is this SRE principle, right? Agility versus fragility, right? Keep it simple. If it works, let it work. And of course, one of the primary concern is, do we have a support? Do we have the expertise? If it is there, it can go on. One. Second, coming back to the new question where the SLO part of it, right? So what happens is, like, we all would have completed our theory part in our colleges, like with software engineering, with the requirements gathering, the problem with the tree and you remember, everybody remembers that the swing, right? Do you believe that still exists, right? So for example, like the customers, many customers invest a lot in the APM tools, right? And integration of all the APM tools with ITSM and integrate that with the remediation platforms. But the SLOs, how would I say this? Like the actual business objective from the business owner who envisioned the product, right? All those are not translated into the objectives for the individual, layers. For example, the database guy who writes a query doesn't know like what is the end objective or like what is the business objective for the, and whether this query is going to be contributing asynchronous or sequential. So the problem here is like the translation of the business objective into SLOs of different layers, the service level objective of the performance, like the availability, the performance of it, and the security, all of this should be implemented, and the reliability by design is what is the solution. And of course, when they talk about adapting to the newer technology and digitalization, the problem is culture always beats the strategies, right? So when you have a culture as something like that, like whatever strategy, technology initiative you bring in, it's not going to help at all. So the thing is, like, as like we said, the two key SRE principles, one is like the agility versus fragility. Like if you have to touch it, otherwise don't embrace just for the sake of it, one. Second is, tie all of the business objective, the user experience objectives to SLOs and translate those SLOs into the objectives for the individual people, like for the operations, what is their SLO, and for the development, for the testing, right? So that should be done, and these two are the primary things with which we can resolve this problem.
Great. I think we are nearly out in time, but I would like to just add one more point to this, is that what we see here is, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. We need to look at the specific situations and then make a decision. But I don't have time to ask everybody the question, but I would like to say that let us also start focusing on the sustainability aspect. Older technology might mean that there's a lot of more carbon footprint, a lot of more energy consumption. So we need to look at that. How many of you have seen valve-based TVs or condenser-based TVs? Yeah, so I mean, those who have seen those, I mean, how much of energy consumption it used to have and what it is today. So we have to look at that aspect. And the other aspect which I would like to touch upon is, while we see we saw one side with security people and one side with the sustainability people kind of, but it's not like that really. The point is, we cannot practice sustainability without resilience, and we cannot practice resilience without sustainability. Because if something breaks, that means it is not sustainable. Whereas if we are not doing things right, even from the vulnerability point of view, then also things will break, so it is not sustainable. So we have to all work together towards what everybody mentioned, is achieving the value creation. And value is, as I say, that it is like a joke. That means you laugh at some jokes, you don't laugh at some jokes, right? So that's the reason why you have to understand each customer persona and define your system, define your architecture of not only your software, architecture of your hardware. You have to define your database accordingly, your threat modeling, and everything has to be following that value creation objective. And we are all towards that same objective, which we need to do. Yeah.
Don't blacklist me, please. Call me next time. This is a nice hotel, right? But if you go to all the rooms up there, there's one example where value creation, process, sustainability, all have aligned beautifully. And that goes the heart of what Niladri just said, right? If you go upstairs, before they used to wash your bed sheets in these rooms every day. Now they have this little card saying, only when you want your bed sheets washed, just put this on the bed or something like that. So that's a alignment of sustainability, because we are saving detergent. I don't necessarily need my sheets changed every day. With business value, because they are saving on a lot of power, a lot of detergent, it's good for the environment. I think the best examples of this, precisely as Niladri just said, comes when business value, environmental value, and customer value all align. And then the underlying process also aligns itself to delivering that value. That, I think, is the holy grail, really. That's when companies will really wholeheartedly embrace all the concepts that we are talking about.
Absolutely. Thanks. I would have wanted to add on more towards the data side of things, because data is one area which is being given a very, very less focus. And as Lakshmi was mentioning, there's too much of data. Processing too much of data means more energy consumption, more carbon footprint. Even if you are training the LLMs, more data need not necessarily be good. That the recent Stanford study shows that the ChatGPT has become dumber. How many of you have seen the movie Dumb, Dumber, Dumbest? So it has become dumber. Earlier it used to be 62% correct in identifying a prime number. Today it is 37% correct in identifying a prime number. So we are putting a lot of garbage in, and we are making them dumber. So it's no longer garbage in, garbage out. It is garbage in, million times garbage out. So with that, I would thank the panelists, and we will go for a break. Thank you, everyone.
A big thank you to all our panelists and our moderator for this very interesting session. And a special thank you to Avinash for your great sense of humor. I must say the session was pretty funny because of your deep insights and also your one-liners. Thank you once again.